Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and in this video I want to show you how you can make champions kind of easy. Now, there can be some nuances, some tricks, there's some weird things that happen to any champions that you'll face in the game, but by the time you're done watching this video, I want you to be able to look at, say, a Master Law sector and know that if you're at a reasonable level, and maybe even under-leveled, that you can do this with a little bit of patience. So, let me explain champions the best as I can, so no matter who you are, if you're solo or as a team, you know you can knock them out. So as we sit here and look at our compass, you've got three champions. You've got Barrier Weapon, you've got Overload, and you've got Unstoppable. Now, Barrier, we've only got one option this season. It's Auto Rifle. We've had a lot of different options for Barrier previously. I think we even had Sniper Rifles at some point. That was fun. For Overload, you've got Bow and you've got Sword. Technically, you have Melees, but I would not recommend it. And then for Unstoppable, you've got Pulse Rifles, Sidearms, and Fusion Rifles / Linear Fusion Rifles. The idea is you just basically have to have this right here equipped to your character, and it's always going to go in the arm slot, and you're going to see I have anti-barrier auto rifle. As long as that's on and I have an anti-barrier weapon, then I know I'm going to be able to take them out. Now, a couple things to note about champions. There are two weapon perks that can have extra benefit against them. One is Major Spec, and that's more of a mod than a perk. If you put Major Spec on your weapon, you're going to do extra damage to any champion you face. So if you're doing something that has a lot of champions, you're farming lost sectors, you're not so worried about nuking the boss, but you want to make sure the champions go down in quick succession, then Major Spec is the mod for you. And it says against powerful enemies, but I can tell you it works against champions. Unless they change this in a Witch Queen, of which I'll probably make a new guide if they do something that major. The other option is going to be Vorpal. Now, it doesn't specifically say it. It says damage against bosses, vehicles, and guardians with their super, but this technically also works against champions. So if you have a weapon with Vorpal, and you put a Major Spec mod on it, you're getting the Vorpal damage, which is going to change on December 7th, so if it's on a heavy, it's 10%, special is 15%, and a primary is 20%, and then you've got your Major Spec of 7.7%, so in theory, if this is on a special weapon, it would be 15 and 7.7, so if you have both of these on, you're doing 22.7% more damage. Noticeable difference if you're trying to take something out quickly. So that's one of the things. If you're facing a lot of champions, that's your main issue of what you're dealing with. Major Spec is what you're going to want to put on all of your weapons. And then just always make sure you have the mods on your gauntlets that match up to the champions for the activity you're doing. Now, that covers what you need for equipment. Now let's go through each one of the champions. We're going to start with Overload because they're the trickiest. Then I'm going to cover Barrier. And then I'm going to cover Unstoppable, which is really the simplest. That one's not going to take very long. Overload's a little bit tricky. So I'm going to go into the Lost Sector, and we're going to start with Overload. Alright, so we're going to start with Overload champions. And Overload champions are not too bad if you know how to manage them. But in something like Master Difficulty, when I've got Attrition on, the burn is matching what the captain is shooting at me, it can be painful. Now, in other seasons, we've had less optimal weapons. Right now, we have the bow, always my favorite thing to use for Overload champions. Why? Because all you literally have to do is get a fully drawn bow shot. Doesn't even matter if it's from the hip. And if you shoot them even in the toe, they will get stunned. They're fairly simple in that state. Most of the weapons we've had previously, and this is a good prime example, are going to function like this. Landing consecutive hits. Now, this says with Sword, we've had submachine guns, auto rifles, hand cannons. They all work in the same way. Get consistent hits on an Overload champion, and you will stun them in place. Once they are stunned, then you've got two options. Keep that damage in a consistent way on them from that Overload weapon to stop them from teleporting around, which will also stop them from getting their health back, because as soon as they teleport, they tend to regenerate their health. So you want to keep them from getting, the teleport, getting their health back, and it's continuous damage with that Overload weapon, or if you stun them and you can delete them with a heavy, for example, then you have that option as well. Now, every so often we've had a grenade that would be Overload. This season we have a melee, which in the situation I'm in currently would be a death sentence. But, I mean, you have a ranged melee technically that could work, but there's not a ton of those. It's really up to you. Solar and Stasis, you have some options, but not for all classes. So the idea is find the easiest point of access to an Overload. This season it's a bow. Hand cannon, we've had that one before. It's usually pretty consistent. Probably will come back. And the idea is whether it's a fully drawn bow shot or it's that consistent damage with a hand cannon at maybe that pace, whether it's an auto rifle with consistent damage like that, whatever it is that you're doing enough consistent hits on the target so when you do actually get that enough shots on them, you're able to actually break their shield. Those shanks are going to get really annoying, but I'll break them when I get down there. So what I'm going to do is show you guys first what a stun looks like. Fairly simple. Bam, stunned. Not hard to do. Actually very simple in the grand scheme of things. But you'll notice, when he teleports, he's going to get his health back and gets really frustrating. And any champion is going to work this way. You'll notice when I stun them, notice him as his image. He's mostly dark colored. He's got those little things on his back. When they glow bright white like that, that means you cannot stun them. And that's applicable to all three champions, whether it's barrier. All three of them have that white glow, means they cannot be stunned. So you've got to manage them. Now, if I tag him, and then I start keeping damage on him with this overload weapon, I'm going to stop him from teleporting. And I'm also going to stop him. Now, I can't stun him until that white stuff's off of him. But I'm also keeping his health from coming back. Now, this is what I mean by doing a deletion. I'm going to let his health come back real quick, just so I have a bit more to fire at. And I've got a linear fusion rifle. Particle deconstruction. You can do a lot of damage. So, he's back to full health. No question about it. So I can pull over here. 1, 2. I almost killed him there in about 3 shots. But you also notice as I was using a non-overload weapon, he was already getting his health back and teleporting near the end of that 3rd shot because I had a little bit of delay in the switch. That is your time window. It is never big. And that's the thing to know about them is the overload champions have very small windows and they are very fickle when it comes to their stuns and if they're going to play nice. And they don't always. And they teleport like crazy half the time. So this guy right here is going to be a bit of a pain, but if I keep this damage on him, I can at least keep him from teleporting. Notice his health is still going down slowly. Got him stunned. And this is what I mean. You can either plink at him with your overload weapon, get a couple shots on him, keep him continuous, or you can go for the heavy weapon delete, which I'm just going to let him get his health back and show you how fast you can delete him. This is master difficulty. I have a 1330 weapon. And he's 1350, and I can still kill him as fast as I'm going to show you, because when you stun him and you get the crits with the right weapon, you're still going to hit him like a truck. So here's full health. 1, 2, 3. Done. Can kill him fast. So the biggest thing about overloads is find how you can stun them, whatever your optimal weapon is for the season. And if this is completely drastically different for Witch Queen, I'll make a new guide, I'm sure. But a bow right now is going to be very functional, or you get those, if it was a hand cannon, it was first shot, second thought, third shot would be the overload. If it was auto rifles or some machine guns, it's like 10 shots in, you get that stun, they come out fairly quickly. Once they're stunned, you need to keep that damage on them. And that's what I'm saying. If you delete them, then cool. But if you, go for this, and then I switch over, and it's like, oh, I need to reload my rocket launcher, for example. Don't even try and shoot the rocket, because you probably won't get what you need done. Switch back to your overload. Then when you get the stun back, then bring that heavy weapon back out again. Go for the heavy shot, and then get the kill. Because if you stun them, switch over, reload, and then you try and fire, it's probably going to take too long, and you're not going to be able to get enough overload shots back in to keep them stunned. They're going to teleport, get their health back, and then your heavy ammo's wasted, which is usually very crucial. That's why it's extremely important to just understand how the overload's stun mechanic works, and how frequently you need to damage them with different weapon types to keep them stationary and manage their health from not going back up. Bows are probably the best at this, but it just kind of depends on what you have for the season. So that's overload champions. Their teleportation and health regeneration can be frustrating, but overall the stun, if you're consistent with it, makes it actually very manageable. So the next champion that we're going to talk about is anti-barrier. They all work the same way, they just have different weapons that are going to be your option for a season. Now, anti-barrier typically is going to have a bit more range, so the fact that we have auto rifles is not optimal. Kind of makes a trade, since bows are actually quite optimal. But the idea is, the champion is going to put up a shield at a certain amount of health, and then at that point, you need to break that shield to either stop the health from regenerating, or also stun them. So I'll explain what I mean. So what you can see is, there's a health bar, and it's got 3 segments to it. So you've got the one under barrier, kind of the one under servitor, and then the one with nothing. The far right is the one we're talking about. Now, if you get the health bar of the champion on master difficulty, about halfway through that first chunk, they're going to put up a shield. So when I hit him with a bow, the next time is going to put the shield up. Now, I would have to do about double the damage on legend difficulty, the lower difficulty, before that shield pops. But on master, they pop it early. So watch. Pops the shield, you're good to go. Now, as we're dealing with auto rifles, this is what's going to break that shield. It's that little white bar that is underneath the health bar. But every time you get enough damage on them, he's going to pop the shield. And then when you're ready, you can actually break that shield and you stun them. When you stun them, you can do crazy amount of damage the whole time. Now, the damage is always the same. You just get a nice opportunity to do damage to them. But they're always going to be ready to put that shield back up and regenerate the health. Now, one thing to note is when you get around to whatever weapon you're going to use, you want to make sure you have enough in your clip to break the shield. But maybe you don't have a ton. What you need to do is basically, if you're at that point, manage to do enough damage to annoy them and not let their shield come back, but just space it out. So here I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not actually get the stun, but I kept his health down. Then I could get the quick reload, and then now I could go for the stun, and he's a sitting target for my big damage. Goes down pretty quick. But if for some reason he goes for the little teleport, little shield, and then I don't get it, see how fast it comes back up? That's how fast that health can regenerate, and you have to start the whole thing over. It's kind of a bummer when that happens. So the idea is, if it's on Legend difficulty, you need to get 1/3 of his health gone. If it's on Master, it's about 1/6. When that happens, and you need to know the timing of when that's going to happen. Now, you can force it to happen. Take, like, Heavy, for example. Switch over, and that shield's going to kind of come up right away. And you can be quick on the stun and keep the damage going. Or you can just use your barrier weapon the whole time and keep shooting them. And you'll notice this will happen. With, like, the auto rifle, I'm not doing a ton of damage to him, but you'll notice, like, I can't stun him for a little bit. He's going to do his little teleport warpy move. And then he's going to, you know, shoot him a couple times. And I can always get him to stun again. And I can do this with almost every weapon we've had. Like, Scout Rifle would be the same way. Like, shoot him a couple times to annoy him, get a little teleport, shoot a couple more, pop the shield, break it, and work him down. A barrier champion in this situation is very manageable. A Servitor is just usually annoying because he's making other people immune. But if I can do this, I can annoy him all day long. There's literally nothing he can do about it. So barrier champions are not too bad. It's just when you get the stun, you want to try and go for the kill, or you need to be ready as quick as possible knowing that shield is going to come up. So if you need to delete them, delete them. But overall, barrier champions, just know when the shield is going to come up, and then if you can't kill it, make sure you are, like, very, very quick on the ready with that anti-barrier weapon, because if they move, teleport, then you need to be able to break that shield. And if they teleport behind cover, and you're in a rough spot, and they're shielding a bunch of enemies, you probably just need to let it go and try and get at them again. Good thing to know about the enemies that you're facing when they're barrier is, if it's, say, a Servitor and it's shielding other enemies, well, when you stun him, he's not going to shield enemies, so then focus on the other stuff. So then when you actually go after him, it's going to be easier. So thin the herd around the Servitor by stunning it first, clear the other adds, and then focus on the Servitor after you get... I mean, let him get his health back, no big deal. Just focus on the stun, kill the little guys, then let the big shots go into him. So overall, barriers, second hardest, because I think Unstoppable is generally the easiest. So let's go talk about those in a different loss sector. So the final champion type is going to be the Unstoppable champion, and they're honestly the easiest of the three, because you stun them, you get to do a ton of damage to them, and you can usually nuke them. And if you get out of line of sight when they get unstunned, they tend not to chase after you. So just manage your time that you have them stunned. They're not that bad. And they all work the same. Aiming down sights with fill-in-the-blank weapon. Pulse rifle, sidearm, fusion, linear fusion, they all work the same way. If you aim down sights, you get an unstoppable shot. If you hit them with that, they are stunned, and you can do substantially more damage to them. But as I said, say you're not able to kill them. Say it's master difficulty, and you just can't quite pump out enough damage for whatever reason, whatever weapon you're using. If you get out of line of sight before they start to shake off their stun, they typically will not just charge directly at you, is what I've learned from personal experience. Now, it's not always the same. Sometimes they'll kind of shoot where they thought you were. Sometimes they will still kind of mosey your direction. But they tend not to be quite as aggressive if you're out of their line of sight when they come out of their stun. So, I'm going to kill a knight. I'm going to get one of these guys to spawn. Be right back. Alright, so I know I have an unstoppable champion around the corner. So pretty much all I'm going to do, aim down sight so I know I'm ready. As soon as I know about where he's standing, I'm going to stun him. Now I'm going to hit him once. Big chunk of damage. That's literally half his health. I have a knight above me ruining this video, but that's totally fine. But you'll notice the Ogre is not going to come charging after me because I'm sitting over here in hiding. Now he's shooting in my general direction. Can happen sometimes too. But he's not running over and stomping on my head. That's the big thing to know. They will normally shoot and run over and step on your head. But right now, he's just shooting where he thinks I was. Now, if this knight's still above me, he is really fun. But the same principle is going to apply if I don't get nuked with a grenade first. Get your unstoppable ready. You got to be aimed down sights for about a second. And stun him. I can stun him and take out some of these other guys while he's stunned. And I'll show you. I want him to look at me. He's going to start coming at me. So he's going to peek around this corner at some point. So I got to be ready to hit him. And that's what you got to do. If they come charging at you, you have to be ready for them. So get in cover so they get unstunned long enough that the white comes off of their back and you can do damage to them. All right, so I think I've cleared out about just about everything in here. Same thing's going to apply. I'm going to have an unstoppable champion up here. He's just chilling out. I'm going to pull this out and stun him. Now, if he doesn't know where I am, he's not going to come right after me. So I'm going to drop off the cliff. In case he doesn't know where I'm at, he's going to do his kind of thing. Do a little searching. Maybe soul searching, who knows. I'm going to find this guy up here. Tag him, get him annoyed with me. Gotta love auto aim, literally not letting me hit him. But again, same principle is going to apply. If he looks at me, I gotta stun him. I can get a huge chunk of damage while he is stunned. But if I'm out of line of sight when he gets unstunned, then he's not going to come right after me. This guy's really just starting to annoy me. Okay. But notice he's still not chasing me. The champion's not running after me. That is the whole point of this. So once again, I can come up here, find him, get my shot, stun him, and then delete him. So that is the biggest things about champions that I can tell you guys. Barriers, you just need to know when the shield is going to pop. On Legend, it's about a third of the health gone. On Master, it's about a sixth of the health gone. And at that point, you got to manage the barrier with whatever the barrier weapon is of the season. For Unstoppables, just literally be aimed down sights for a second with whatever it is. When you stun them, do as much damage as you can, and then get out of line of sight. If you can't kill them before they get unstunned, give it a second. Let their, stun lock. Basically, it's like when any of the champions have that white on their back with those little glowing kind of like wires around them. When it's white, you can't stun them. So when you can't stun an unstoppable champion, make sure he can't see you. Otherwise, he's going to be very angry. And then finally, overload. The most annoying. Bows are very favorable in ways to do this, but whatever it is the consecutive hits with whatever weapon it is outside of a bow is a single shot. Get them stunned and then keep them with that continuous damage, or be very careful and deliberate when you use heavy damage on them. Hopefully this helps you guys be better at managing champions, managing lost sectors, solo lost sectors, and anything basically just at higher difficulty with champions, because they definitely seem to not be going anywhere in Destiny, even though I do feel like we either need more new ones or kind of refined versions of the mechanics. But that's a video for another day. If you guys did enjoy this video, please drop a like below. If you have thoughts about any of the champions that I may have missed, please drop those down in the comments. If you guys want to find me on Twitter, it is at Ebontis. On Twitch for streaming, it is twitch.tv/Ebontis. But right here on YouTube, where you guys are at right now, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that alert bell. That'll help my videos and YouTube streams make it to you. And then if you guys want to support me directly, you can join the channel as a member, get my emotes and kind of exclusive member content. You can also can join my Patreon. That link is in the description below. Thank you all very much, and good luck out there with the champions. Hopefully this helps.